After 22 movies and 11 years, the Infinity Saga is finally complete with Avengers Endgame, but where does it rank?
WOLFMAN'S got Nards!
In this video, I'm going to be ranking all 22 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I'm going to be giving a little quick description as to why I put it in the rank that it is. I'm not going to go over the top because there are 22 movies to get through, so let's go through them. And at number 22 is Thor: The Dark World. This is probably the only movie in the list that I would consider a boring Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Unlike the first movie, this looks like it was trying to figure out what kind of movie it wanted to be. There was some humour in it, there was some serious bits in it, but it just didn't really fit. And with Malekith being the main bad guy, he was a forgettable bad guy. And at number 21 is Captain America: The First Avenger. Now I do like this movie, but it does feel slow at times, but I didn't really mind that. I didn't also mind the fact that it was set in the 40s as well. I like the build up of the Captain America character. Yes, it was boring compared to the Captain America sequels, but I had to start somewhere, and I think it was a good beginning. And at number 20 is Iron Man 2. Now I think this movie's biggest letdown is the fact that they ruined the actors in this film. They had Mickey Rourke in this film and they had Sam Rockwell as well. And with those actors being in this film, you'd think it would be a lot better. I think the story had a lot to live up to from the first Iron Man, and I think that didn't help the movie at all, but I think that they underused Mickey Rourke and they underused Sam Rockwell. And at number 19 is Thor. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a good introduction to the Thor character. I'm not a massive fan of these period looking movies, and that's what Thor was. I think the Destroyer wasn't used properly, but I did like Loki in this film. I think Loki was a good bad guy, but overall it was a good origin story. And at number 18 is Captain Marvel, one of the most recent movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I liked the movie, but I think it was slightly boring as well. I did enjoy it. The action was good, the comedy was good, and I liked the fact that it was set in the 90s too, but after I watched the film, I thought there wasn't a lot of action in this movie. And I think if there was a lot more action in it, I would have liked it a little bit more, and it probably would have been higher up the list. And at number 17 is The Incredible Hulk. This is one of the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where a lot of people will have at the bottom of the list. It was one of the first ones. It was the second one in the Cinematic Universe, but it was one of the first ones in the Cinematic Universe. They're still trying to find their feet on what they're going to be doing. Remember, this is a Universal movie, so Marvel Studios didn't have a whole tie-in to this film initially, but I think they've done well with the character. It was a lot better than the Hulk from 2003, and I did like Edward Norton in this role, but I do prefer Mark Ruffalo now. I also really liked Abomination, and I hope we see him in future Marvel movies. And at number 16 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. I saw this movie more as a romantic comedy more than a superhero movie. Yes, it's got superheroes in it, but it felt more of its own movie out with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's not a bad thing. I just think it works well mostly on its own than it does as part of the universe, but with Paul Rudd being in Endgame more, then it ties these movies in a little bit better. But yeah, the movie was great, it was funny, a lot of good action in it, but again, as most of the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe fail, it's with the bad guy in this film. And at number 15 is Iron Man 3. Now this movie was directed by Shane Black. It wasn't directed by Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau decided to just produce this movie instead. And I did enjoy this movie. I liked it a lot better than Iron Man 2. I think the action was great in this film, and this is just coming off the back of Avengers Assemble as well. So some people were disappointed. A lot of people were disappointed in the Mandarin in this movie. I wasn't disappointed in the Mandarin because I didn't read the comic books, so it didn't matter to me. I liked the whole reveal that Trevor Slattery wasn't actually the Mandarin, so it didn't bother me at all. But overall, great action, great acting, and overall a great movie. And at number 14 is Ant-Man. Just for similar reasons to Ant-Man and the Wasp, it felt like it's his own movie. It doesn't need to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It does now with the events of Endgame, but it could have been on its own anyway. It didn't make a lot of money at the box office either, but again, it was a good solid action comedy movie with Marvel characters. And at number 13 is Avengers: Age of Ultron. This is probably one of the most disappointing movies on my list, and you probably think, well, why is it not number 22? It's not number 22 because it is still a really good movie. I loved Ultron in this film. He's one of the best bad guys that I've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It just didn't live up to the hype, and it didn't live up to Avengers Assemble, but again, it had a great cast. I really like Quicksilver. Disappointed that they killed Quicksilver, but they had to kill somebody. But great action, great acting again, and it's just a fantastic Marvel movie. And then number 12 is Doctor Strange. I didn't think I was going to like this film. The trailers didn't sell it for me. It looked like a Marvel version of Inception, and the Doctor Strange character I didn't know a lot about, and I wasn't really interested. When I found out that Joaquin Phoenix wasn't playing Doctor Strange, I was very disappointed. I didn't really rate Benedict Cumberbatch. I didn't see him in a lot of movies, but after I've seen this movie, this is probably one of the most surprising movies for me in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I loved it. I thought the visuals were stunning. Benedict Cumberbatch proved me wrong because he was amazing as Doctor Strange, and he was born to play Doctor Strange. So it was a great movie. Again, the bad guys weren't great in this film, but what worked for me was Doctor Strange and the story of Doctor Strange. And then number 11 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now this is again a great movie, but it lacks a lot of what the original Guardians of the Galaxy gave us, and that's what maybe disappoints me most in this film. But it was still a fun movie. I think what helped this movie drive forward is the characters in this film. The characters are all great, the visuals are stunning, and I did like Kurt Russell as Ego in this movie. A lot of the villains in these films disappoint me a lot, but Ego didn't disappoint me. He disappointed me in how easy it was to be defeated, but he didn't disappoint with his character himself, and Kurt Russell is always great in these movies. And obviously the soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is probably better this time than Volume 1 for me personally. I love most of the songs on this soundtrack better. And then number 10 is Spider-Man Homecoming. Now for me, Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man movie still. It's better than Spider-Man Homecoming for me personally. But this movie was great. It had that Marvel Studios feel to it, even though it's still a Sony movie. Sony have given Marvel Studios the rights to help them out, make it a better Spider-Man movie, and give us a better Spider-Man incarnation as well. And they've done that. I think Michael Keaton was great as the Vulture. Even though he wasn't an actual Vulture himself, they gave him the tools to become the Vulture without actually being a Vulture himself. So I think it was a very realistic, grounded Spider-Man movie. And we had a kid who was only 21 years old at the time when he filmed this. So we had a younger actor playing Spider-Man for a change, and that helped. And then number 9 is Black Panther. Considered by me the most overrated Marvel Cinematic Universe movie of all time so far. A lot of people consider this the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. I don't personally. Watching it, it was an amazing movie with great acting, great visuals, great action, and a great origin story for Black Panther. Even though we got Black Panther in Civil War, the origin story surrounding Black Panther was in the Black Panther movie. It's very overrated. I don't think it is the best Marvel movie, but it's still an amazing movie. And Killmonger is one of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe villains for me personally. And the number 8 is Iron Man, the one movie that started it all. At first I thought that this movie was overrated. I watched it for the first time thinking that's a great movie, but everybody was raving about it and I didn't really see it. I didn't love Robert Downey Jr. as an actor at the time. I watched it again and again and again obviously, and even after every Marvel Cinematic Universe movie comes out, when I go back to watch Iron Man, it just gets better with age. It means more as well, especially after seeing Avengers Endgame. The movie means more to me now than it did the first time I watched it. Robert Downey Jr. was born to play Iron Man. This is clearly the best Iron Man movie in my opinion, and it's just amazing. It's one that we'll never forget because it started it all. And then number 7 is Thor Ragnarok. This is the movie that changed the tone for the Thor character. Thor was a boring movie, but it was good. Thor The Dark World was just a boring movie and it wasn't really good at all, but Thor Ragnarok completely changed it. What was his name again? Taika Waititi. He directed the movie. He made it a fun movie. He made it like Guardians of the Galaxy. Not only did we love the story, we loved the characters, the soundtrack was great, the action was amazing, and we put the Incredible Hulk in there too because we can't give him his own movie because he's owned by Universal. But they utilised the Hulk amazingly in this. They utilised Loki amazingly in this. Again, the bad guys in this film weren't great. I think Hela was a good bad guy, but all, like Sutur, I think it is, and everybody else in the background was irrelevant for me, but Hela was a good villain and again a great film. And then number 6 is Avengers Assemble. Although this isn't my favourite movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's still one of the most groundbreaking movies of all time, never mind a groundbreaking Marvel movie. What they've done in Avengers Assemble will never be able to be replicated on that scale again. They've done what they could with the characters that they were able to use at the time. They didn't have the rights to Spider-Man at the time. They didn't introduce characters like the Guardians, Doctor Strange or any of those. So they used the tools that they had in the best way possible, and I just think that Avengers Assemble, again, it's one of those movies that will be remembered forever. And then number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy. This is the time when they take the Marvel Cinematic Universe and made it bigger as part of a bigger universe. They introduced the stones throughout the movies, but this is the one movie where we got Thanos finally, with Josh Brolin playing Thanos. We had more information on the Infinity Stones, and they took a risk with Guardians of the Galaxy, and that risk paid off because the style of the movie that they made, they're bringing forward to other movies, like I mentioned with Thor Ragnarok. So they're doing what they're doing now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies with what they started with Guardians of the Galaxy, if that makes sense. And then number 4 is Captain America the Winter Soldier. This was my number 1 movie for quite a while in this list, because it's not only a great Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, it had a great bad guy with the Winter Soldier, Bucky. It was like a spy espionage 007 movie, and that's what I really liked about this film. It was the most realistic Marvel movie in this Marvel Cinematic Universe. It came out at the same time as Guardians of the Galaxy. There's just a few months apart, and the stark difference between the tone and the style of movies was incredible. And this was the first movie that the Russo brothers directed in the Marvel Universe. And then number 3 is Captain America Civil War. The reason I like this one more than the Winter Soldier is because there was more at stake. We had Iron Man in this film as well, and it was 2016 this movie came out, so it was 8 years since the Marvel Cinematic Universe started. So it took 8 years for us to get to know Iron Man, a few less years to get to know Captain America, but still, we've known them for a good few years, and them fighting against each other in Civil War was quite heartbreaking at times, and especially when Bucky and Captain America were fighting Iron Man at the end. We didn't know who we wanted to win, we just wanted them all to make up and get along again. What made me love this movie even more, this was the Avengers movie that we should have got with Age of Ultron. Most people call this Avengers 2.5. And then number 2 is Avengers Infinity War. I always was interested in the Thanos character ever since we saw him being introduced at the end of Avengers Assemble, and to see him on screen for the first time since 2012 as a big bad character, the main bad guy, it was incredible. I think Josh Brolin stole the show. It was, again, I mentioned with Avengers Assemble that it's the first time seeing everybody on screen for the first time. It will never be replicated again. I think what they've done in Infinity War is they've went that level up now. Forget Age of Ultron because they didn't do anything new. They've done something completely new and different with Infinity War. It was the start of the Endgame, and it was amazing. This was a Thanos movie at the end, basically. It told the story of Thanos, it gave us the journey of Thanos, something that we didn't really see before because it's a superhero movie that focused mainly on the villain. It was just incredible. And if you haven't guessed it already, my number 1 is Avengers Endgame. Not only for me is this the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I mentioned with number 2 Infinity War being the beginning of the Endgame. This was just a great conclusion. It was an amazing ending. Not only was it action-packed, visually stunning, it was heartfelt as well. We went through the journey with Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. We went through the journey with them all over these years, and with what we saw at the end of Endgame, the movie could bring a tear to a glass eye. Endgame was just the perfect ending to the Infinity Saga. I know there's going to be a phase 4, but phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3, it concluded that chapter, that one big chapter perfectly. We know we're not going to get Iron Man again unless they bring him back, which I don't think they should do, but I think it was a perfect ending to a few of those characters, mainly Iron Man and Captain America. It was a beautiful movie. So that's my ranking of all 22 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Obviously my opinions might change over the years. Watching movies time and time again gives me different opinions. I see it from a different angle now and again. For example, Iron Man, it wasn't one of my favourites, but it is one of my favourite movies now in the cinematic universe. But it always changes, and obviously we're going to have a phase 4 coming out eventually, and this Marvel Cinematic Universe is only going to get bigger. So what do you think of my list, guys? Do you agree with me? Have you got a completely different list from 1 to 22? As always, leave your comments down below. List your numbers 1 to 22. You don't have to go through and tell me why, but tell me why number 22 is your worst, and tell me why number 1 is your best. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again, thanks for subscribing, I'll see you soon, bye bye.